You've probably heard about this ex-Muslim, right?
I just left Islam and converted to Christianity, and now I deserve imprisonment, the death penalty, and eternal damnation for this unforgivable sin. Well, that is if I lived in Iran, or Iraq, or Saudi Arabia, or Afghanistan.
Him rambling about how he left Islam, and there are comments saying, it's just content, relax, it's just one guy. But what if I told you that this is poison disguised as wisdom, a slow drip of doubt, disbelief, and shirk fed directly to a young generation who won't even notice they swallowed it? Let's see what he has to say.
But thankfully, I don't live in either of those countries. I'm in the West, so I can commit apostasy without some jihadi warrior killing me, you know?
So he says he left Islam. He claims,
if I lived in Saudi or Afghanistan, I wouldn't be alive right now.
but let's think for a second. How would they even know that you have apostatized? And most of these countries don't even rule by Islamic law. And even if they did, apostasy isn't handled by random people on the street. It requires courts, rulings, process. No one just walks up and 1 minute of research would have told you that.
And before you say it, no, I'm not converting out of pure feely-wheelies, okay? I actually studied the scriptures, and I am aware of the decision I'm taking. But yeah, for now, here is my testimony.
I'm not converting out of pure feely-wheelies.
So let's keep this in mind as we break down his so-called study.
So I was born a Muslim, and I was introduced to Christianity very early in my life, even though where I live is more secular due to the tranquil revolution. We strived to respect the 5 pillars of Islam. We prayed, we read the Quran, we gave to the poor, and we fasted every Ramadan. Despite Christmas being a Christian holiday, our family still celebrated it. And I remember loving Christmas so much. It was my favorite holiday, and it still is.
He says he was Muslim and still celebrated Christmas. Christmas, a celebration built on the belief that Allah has a son, the most severe form of shirk. Ibn al-Qayyim said congratulating disbelievers for their religious festivals that have kufur attached to it is not permissible according to the consensus. And he didn't just congratulate, he celebrated. And we're supposed to believe you were a Muslim with knowledge? Really?
How important it is to know God in a personal way, you know? It all started in late high school when I started having doubts about Islam, when I noticed most, if not all of my Muslim peers just living completely sinful lives. I see them just not doing Ramadan. They were liars. They were prideful. They would bear false witness to everything. You would hear all sorts of gossip with them. They were just ungodly people. And some of them were so prideful that they would be accusing me of sinning without them even admitting their own sins.
Then he says he left Islam because his friends weren't practicing.
They didn't fast Ramadan.
So your reason is emotions, not evidence. You said you left for rationality, yet all you bring is,
My friends didn't practice properly.
since when does someone else's sin prove a religion false? If a Christian robs a bank, does that mean Christianity endorses robbery? No, it means he's a bad Christian. Same logic here.
And it was so weird because even though I was a Muslim, I had only one Muslim friend. And of course he did not do Ramadan.
And if your friend didn't believe Ramadan was obligatory, that's kufr by consensus. But instead of correcting him, you used him as an excuse to leave.
Fast forward later, during college, you may know this person, but I used to listen to a bishop called Mary Emanuel. Even though I was a Muslim at the time and didn't agree with everything, I liked him because he was funny, he was wise, and he was hopeful. Until the incident happens. You know what incident I'm talking about. The one where he got stabbed in the eye. And then I learned who the culprit was. Dude, what is wrong with Islam?
Then he blames Islam for a bishop being stabbed. Whatever a Muslim does not define Islam. If a man claims to be Christian and commits a crime, no one blames the gospel. Yet when a Muslim sins, suddenly Islam is the problem. Double standards dripping off every sentence.
I cannot believe I followed it for 18 years of my life.
And then he crosses the final line. He calls the Prophet, peace be upon him, a Astaghfirullah. Not only is this historically and contextually false, but how can you insult the Prophet when you yourself admitted celebrating Christmas, the biggest act of shirk, going directly against everything he taught? You didn't follow him, yet you slander him.
I just prayed and I asked Jesus, I don't know if you truly are God. I've been told that you're just a prophet. If you truly are God, heal me of any disease I have, heal my heart and guide me, and I will follow you. And then there was an evening and there was a morning. I woke up with the global sensation completely gone in under 8 hours, and I began to see the world differently. And from then on, I became Christian. I'm not sure if I should be Catholic or Orthodox, but what's important is the Trinity, the resurrection of Jesus, and the Nicene Creed. But yeah, that was my testimony of why I converted to Christianity.
And finally, the emotional punchline. He says,
I prayed to Jesus and woke up feeling good.
so that's proof Christianity is true. Then what about the Hindu who prays to a cow and feels healed? Or the Buddhist who meditates and finds peace? By your logic, every religion becomes true because someone felt good one morning. You said you didn't leave based on feelings, but everything you gave was feelings. Remember what he said earlier.
And before you say it, no, I'm not converting out of pure feely wheelies, okay?
No evidence Islam is false. No evidence Christianity is true. Just trauma, bad Muslims, and dopamine dreams. These are the kinds of videos that triggers attacks against Muslims. That's why it's important to beware of those kinds of people, my brothers and sisters. If you're watching this right now, consider this a warning, because the scariest part isn't that he left Islam. It's that millions might follow not with conviction, not with reason, but with blindness so complete they won't realize they fell until Allah asks them why. Don't lose your faith to a YouTuber with no proof. If you know this message needs to be heard, hit subscribe, because this isn't just a video, it's your iman on the line.